bit sorry for West Ham at the moment. A bit. A little bit. I mean, to be fair, we need transfer rumours to have something to discuss. But I think since Moyes came in, the club have tried really hard to clamp down on transfer news and rumours getting out and about, really. I mean, it was one of the stipulations when David Moyes came in for a second time, and then particularly when he was going to sign a new deal, which was, you got to shut up. You need to let me try and get deals done under the radar. For a long, long time, West Ham were a gobby club, weren't we? We just couldn't keep our mouth shut about anything. But we have. I mean, we've done a really, really good job. Unfortunately, what you can't control, as I've discussed before, are agents and the selling club leaking the information. And this is why we found out about Areola and Zuma. When I don't think there were certainly no leaks from our end. Anyway, it seems to be happening again. The transfer rumour mill, not everything can be believed, but it does seem that we have placed a bid, albeit a lowball offer and a terrible offer, for Gabriel Barbosa, a Flamengo striker who has played for Brazil a number of times as well. I think that's genuine interest. Now, that has been confirmed by 3 sources. One of the agents has confirmed it. Dharma Chef is running with it on Sky Sports. And, oh my goodness, what's the guy's name? One of the big journalists on the continent. Is it Fabrizio Romano? Might have that wrong. But he's got a very, very good record in terms of confirming deals. I was speaking with Gio about it, actually. This guy doesn't feel that he needs to throw out a load of... It's like, throw enough crap at the wall and some of it will stick. If you mention everyone, you're going to be able to say, I got this right. He's not like that, like a lot of the tabloids are. Generally what he says is right, so you can sort of trust his news, really, because he hasn't got one thing right and 10 things wrong. So he's also mentioned it. So it's come from 3 different sources. Now, as I understand it, Okay, sorry, let me just backtrack a little bit. I want to talk about 3 strikers. As I understand it, we're in for 3 separate strikers here. Gabriel Barbosa, Arthur Cabral, and Brereton Díaz. Okay, Cabral is at Basel. He's Brazilian as well. Díaz is at Blackburn Rovers. He's, actually, funny enough, he plays for Chile, but he was actually born in Stoke, believe it or not. But I think his nationality, he plays for Chile. I think his parents are Chile. His parents are Chile. They're just really cold. They're freezing. His parents are Chilean. Anyway, we'll get to that. There are 3 strikers, and they all have their individual merits. And I want to talk about each one, because I do find it weird that we're linked with all 3. But there does seem to be substance in these 3 rumours, which would perhaps set these 3 strikers aside from all the others that we have been linked with. I'm doing well, aren't I, today? That we have been linked with. Okay. The Barbosa one. Let's just talk about him as a player, firstly. He's just a goal scorer. When I say he's just a goal scorer, I don't mean he does nothing else. But my word, this lad operates within the 18-yard box. He really does. Gets close to goals. He scores a lot of tap-ins, and he scores a lot of penalties. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not suggesting because he scores a lot of penalties, it's, what can I say, sort of massage these figures a bit. Yes, his goal scoring record looked probably better than it was, but I think he wins a lot of penalties as well. And you've got to score them, you've got to be good at them. I don't want that to detract from this skill and movement in the box. When I looked at him the first time I saw him, I thought Robbie Fowler. Actually looks nothing like him. And he's not a Scouser either. But left-footed, hits the ball early, hits the ball before the goalkeepers expected it, before the defenders expected it. Often when you see him score a goal, he's not... He hits the opposite corner that you'd expect him to strike the ball in. Do you know what I mean? When you're expecting it to go to far post, he goes near post, and he goes high when you expect it to go low and stuff like that. He's quite unorthodox in the way he finishes, but he's lethal. He's absolutely clinical. Now, I wasn't sure about this when I go and describe the other 2 strikers. The other 2 are sort of nothing like him, really. One thing I do know is with this player, though, wherever he plays football, he will score goals. Apparently, he's trying to push a move through to West Ham, but our offer our offer's derisory, quite frankly. It really is. We've offered... it's derisory. I think we've offered £30 million. but we want him for on an 18-month loan first. And it's not this derogatory. £30 million, I think, is fine. I think it's not the fee that I'm arguing with. It's just, I believe we would give him a loan fee of £5 million. Look, I mean, that's just no good. That's not going to be a tempting offer to the Brazilian club. Now, as I understand it, he's really keen to join West Ham. There was an article, there was a little feature on Sky yesterday where Darmesh was saying that he'd watched all West Ham's games. He likes David Moyes. Didn't quite go the full hog and say, you know, his dad worked at Dagenham for Ford, and you know, and he loved pie and mash and all that. But he'd been keeping his eye on the club. He wanted to join West Ham. He thought he could play well within our style. That's the only bit I wasn't so sure about. But the other bit, he wants to force a move through. I think we've had this for Arnautovic. You've got to be really careful if you hire a player that's willing. I'm not saying he's willing to go on strike. He just wants talks with them or anything like that. But we had it with Arnautovic. Did it at Stoke to get a transfer, and then you know we signed him, and he sort of did it to us. So I would hope that's not the case. I don't know enough about it, but apparently it's true. We have showed interest in this player. Before I go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. You can download the OneFootball app by clicking the link, which is below this screen right there. It's free, and the best thing about it is when you join, it's a Premier League app, it's an international, it's a global football app, but when you join, it asks you who your team is, click West Ham, and it'll put all the West Ham news together, all in one place for you. You don't have to go searching out in different newspapers and websites for the latest transfer news and latest team news and injury news and all that sort of thing. Use the link below. It's free. Why not? Well, featuring heavily on that app are the three players I'm talking about today, and I've only really talked about one of them in any depth. But my point is, well, one of my points is that he's a striker. He's about 5'9", 5'10", something like that. A poacher. He's quick. I think he's someone, you buy this guy, and I think he has to play in the first team. That being said, knowing David Moyes, you know, he'd probably take 6 months and bed him in relatively slowly. That being said, he's the type of player that if he did, you know, get used and gradually introduced off the bench and something like that, he'd score as a sub. He just would, and then he'd start demanding his inclusion, and that's why I think he'd get into the team. It doesn't really fit with the other two though, because the other two are both 6'1", and one of them a little bit taller than that. And that's Brereton Díaz, who's at Blackburn Rovers, and Arthur Cabral, who's at Basel. Now, out of the three, Cabral is the one for me. I've got to say, he's the one. I look at him and I think, wow, okay, he really is an outstanding player. He just looks like he would fit within our system. I've discussed him before on this channel. And when I've seen him, I've thought, okay, you know, he could operate sort of wide, he can operate outside the box. He's strong, really, really strong. He's fast. It just sort of made more sense. Just saw him play. I just thought, yes, he suits our style a little bit more. I think what probably goes against him a little bit there, and I guess to one degree or another, is he's playing for Basel. Now, obviously, Basel do play in European football. It's not like Basel, you know, play the dog and duck, you know, every week or anything like that. But, you know, obviously plays in the Swiss League. How competitive is that? Well, we don't know. We don't really know. Obviously, Barbosa playing for Flamengo. I mean, it's obviously a really high technical level of football, and it is competitive. The Brazilian league just is massively competitive. What we don't know is how that translates from the Brazilian league to being good over here. Now, I think it depends who you sign, and that's what worries me, really. We're not sort of signing a physical player in that sense. In Barbosa, we'd be signing a goal poacher. Cabral is very, very different. Cabral ticks all the boxes. Scores long-range goals, scores headers, left foot, right foot. As I say, Barbosa's really left-footed. You know, if you watch, I don't know how many goals I watched. I must have watched 60, 70 of his goals. I don't know. Maybe not as many as that. Maybe watched 50 of his goals. Who bloody knows? But most of them were left-footed. Almost predominantly left-footed. Cabral's scoring sort of all sorts. And he's got the pace as well. You just look at him as a physical specimen and think, yeah, okay, ticks all the boxes. In terms of the first team, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say how well he would settle. That's a harder one to call. The last one, Brereton Díaz, it's possibly, I haven't looked at the charts in the last couple of weeks, but possibly he's top scorer in the Championship. He's certainly amongst them. I think he scored 20 goals in 24 appearances, which is not mucking around. And we know, look, we've got recent experience purchasing from the Championship. We know that people can play in the Championship and perform well for West Ham and in the Premier League. Combative, certainly. It's going to be no surprise. I say this. He looked a little bit slow. Let me just say that. I don't mean like tortoise, not the full tortoise, but I thought, but not quite electric. You certainly wouldn't be, keeping up with the other two. That's, I discussed the other day, Traore and Daniel James. He's not like that. But he's physical. Clearly, he doesn't need time to settle because he's already playing over here. As I say, he was born in Stoke anyway. He scores lots of different goals as well. And again, he's got that old saying, quick feet for a big fella and all that sort of thing. The only thing I would say with this guy is, and this is why I almost think, well, maybe this one could happen. I think, for the reasons I mentioned earlier, I think Barbosa comes in, he's going to be close to first team or he's going to be wanting it for that money. I think Cabral comes in, depending on what you get him for. It depends. Maybe he might be happy to play second fiddle to Antonio. Playing second fiddle to Antonio is no bad thing, by the way. Still think you're going to get games. I think that much is clear. Díaz, he would just play second fiddle to Antonio. And I do worry a little bit about that because I want to sign someone that puts pressure on Antonio almost straight away. I think he'd be a good player, Díaz. I think he'd play well for West Ham. I think he'd play well for whoever he plays. He sort of had a little bit of a maybe a Chris Wood look about him, if you like. But I don't think Antonio would look at him and think that's a threat. I think he would very much play second fiddle. As I say, he'd be the reserve. He'd be back up to Antonio. I think Antonio needs to look and see West Ham bringing someone in and think, oh man, this is not good at all. And I do think with Barbosa, certainly, with his reputation, with the fact that he's already represented Brazil, I like the attitude of Barbosa. He wants to play for West Ham. He says West Ham or whatever, but he wants to move because he feels that's the best way for him to force himself into the Brazilian national team ahead of the World Cup in Qatar, which is later on in the year. Obviously, not holding it in the summer because it's just too bloody hot. So, I like that. That's his attitude. I do think if Antonio saw him coming in, Antonio think, this ain't too good. This don't look too good for me. I also think with someone like that, though, I wouldn't be surprised if, chasing game, that Moyes would pair this guy up front with Antonio or Antonio just to the left or something like that. So I do believe that's an option there. The Cabral one, slightly different, but I do think straight away in training, if he trained like he seems to play, I think straight away in training it would become immediately evident to all the West Ham players, and in particular Mikel Antonio, that there was someone serious here and someone that was going to be very, very hard to shift from the first team once he got in and made his mark. It's really, really interesting. I think particularly the... anyway, I don't know, hopefully I mentioned at the start, obviously Flamengo have turned down that initial offer of the £5 million loan. So I think that's quite common news now with the option to buy. However, he's going in for talks, Barbosa, with them, and going to hope to force a move through. I don't think it's just going to be talks that do it. I think West Ham have got to, because it is a terrible offer. I think West Ham have got to come and meet halfway. I think West Ham have certainly got to go and do something to make it more enticing to Flamengo. Because just why would you? It's it's a bit like me. A bit like me going across the road and seeing the guy's car over there and offering him a £5 and I can drive it around for 18 months and I'll give you 20 grand in a couple of years. It's just, no use to him. He can't go and buy a new car, can he? So, I think we've got to have to do something to entice them a little bit more. I'd like to think that we can certainly do something there. I don't know what sort of financial state the Brazilian league is in. I just wonder if we're going in there trying to take advantage of the fact that they're not particularly in fantastically healthy financial condition. Anyway, there you go. There are my thoughts Does look like something's happening though. Does look like something's happening. Hopefully we can get a deal over the line. And what I find interesting in him is this Rob Newman? You know, is this his influence? Because we know that he had a heavy. He's part of his scouts. He was never director of football, or he didn't hold the position that he holds now at West Ham at Man City. But he was involved in a lot of the South American coaching. So I do wonder if this one has come from him. And if it has, and he's made a recommendation, and David Moyes said, okay, that's cool, we'll go with your recommendation. I think that's quite healthy as well in terms of the club and in terms of everybody trusting one another. There we go. Anyway, there we go. We're early. We're early in the window. This is going to run and run and run.